Hello friends, today I'm gonna make red sauerkraut. I'm gonna use this red cabbage for my sauerkraut, and I just wanted to show you how extremely easy it is to make red sauerkraut and how absolutely delicious it is. You're gonna need a couple of carrots if you want, but that's not necessary, and a couple of onions if you want. That is not necessary either. I chose to use caraway seed because I think that's an excellent spice for sauerkraut, and just a little bit pink Himalayan salt. You have to have the salt. And again, all the utensils that you're gonna be using should be plastic. And today I'm gonna shred my cabbage on a little device that's called mandolin. The thinner you shred your cabbage, the faster it is done, and I think it tastes better, but I'm choosing this thicker option on my mandolin. The thinner option, that is this one, it's a little bit hard to slice the cabbage on it, so I'm choosing this thicker option, and actually for the red cabbage it works out really nice. I want to take off some of the leaves from the outside and keep it for later. If you don't have mandolin or shredder, you can also easily just slice the cabbage with your knife, and that's fine too. So now the whole cabbage has been shredded. The basic rule is 1 tablespoon of salt per head of cabbage, and I can use either Himalayan salt or Celtic salt. Both of these salts are excellent. Just do not use table salt, just regular sodium chloride. So I decided to use Celtic salt. This salt seems to have like more salt flavor, and I think it even has more minerals and nutrients. So just salt it like that. And you're almost done with your cabbage. Just work the salt into the cabbage. Your hands are gonna get stained. Just work it out like this. You don't have to massage it or anything really. And now this handy tool for $1, just press on it. So we're gonna be compacting this cabbage like this every 10 to 15 minutes for an hour or two until it releases those nice juices, and that's all is to it. It's like really super easy. If there's not enough juice, I may need to add some spring water or distilled water. So this is enough pressing for now. I'm gonna let it sit for 10-15 minutes. So it's been maybe 20 minutes since I first salted the cabbage, and now I'm just gonna press it a few times. See, I don't need to do anything besides like pressing it like that. It's already like getting translucent. You can see kind of letting go of the juices, and just press it like that. And let it sit for another 15 minutes, and repeat it for an hour or two until you have nice juice all around. Okay, so it's been about 3 or 4 hours, and sometimes you really have to put a little bit more pressure on that cabbage to release that juice, especially during the winter like now. The cabbage is kind of dry, so it takes a while, and I may need to end up adding some water. I'm gonna cut the onions and slice the carrots, but this is the red cabbage releasing some of the juices, the brine. So now the cabbage is ready, so I'm gonna use my mandolin to shred the carrots. I'm just gonna use 2 carrots. And I'm gonna cut 3 little onions. I don't really need to shred them. I'll just cut them. I'm just gonna get a half a gallon jar. I want a big jar because I don't want to like have too many jars, and I don't want this to overflow. It's nice. Cabbage is nice and juicy, you can see that. You can see that's nice and juicy. And I'm gonna just add a little bit of carrots, a little bit of onion. So I have cabbage, I have a little bit of carrot, onion, and I'm just gonna top it off with a little bit of caraway seed. Caraway seed really goes well. Now I'm gonna press it with my hand. I want it to be really compacted. I think that will be enough for this jar. I'm just gonna top it off. I want to have some space because I don't really want this to overflow and lose all that fluid. It always overflows. So I'm just gonna leave ample space here on the top. I'm gonna put the leaves that I saved. It's always a good idea to put like this core on the top that keeps everything underwater. Well, we don't have water here, so I have to add water. I have a little bit of water. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to it. And I'm just going to add the water to the jar so everything is underwater. And as you see, I can still have some space. I'm just gonna leave it like that because it always overflows, and I just don't want to lose any of that fluid because this is full of nutrition. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And I have another jar, and let's fill this one. So that's it. I'm done. That's all there is to it. Just try to press it as much as possible. And I'm just gonna add the water. So I have 2 jars of beautiful red cabbage with some onions, caraway seeds and carrots, and in 3 days it will be ready. It can ferment between 3 and 14 days on the countertop, and then you want to take it in a colder temperature or refrigerator and you can eat it. But I noticed that red cabbage takes a little bit longer than green cabbage, so you may want to choose to ferment it for like 6 to 14 days. Now, just in case the fermentation will be a little bit stronger, put a little plate to hold excess fluid if it flows out, even though we have quite a bit of space, and I'll show you how this goes. So the jars have been fermenting for probably 18 hours now, and like once every 24 hours we need to open the lid to let the gases out. So that's what we're gonna do right now. And look what happens. Little bubbles coming up. Not a whole bunch of them, just a few. And we can do it to the other one too. We have the fermentation is beginning. We have a little bit bubbles on the top. Not that many yet, but it's just the first day, so everything is doing good. Now we're gonna put the lids back on and let it ferment for another 24 hours. And that's all you need to do. So this is a second day of fermentation of the red cabbage, and as you can see, there is a little bit of bubbles here on the top in the jar, but nothing is overflowing, so I'm glad. This jar doesn't have, I don't see the bubbles. Nothing is overflowing either. So let's open them today, release the pressure inside. That's what we need to do like every day. So you can see that there is some bubbles coming up. Not that much though. Just gonna close it. This is day 6 of the fermentation, and you can see that here we have this nice brine that is like, this has this deep color and nothing spilled in my jar. And so I'm very happy because I don't want to lose any of that brine, so there is nothing spilled. And this smaller jar that was filled a little bit more to the top, you can see that it was overflowing and there is some brine that spilled. So it's probably not the best idea to fill it all the way to the top. And this one had about this much space from the top, and it didn't spill anything. So now I'm gonna open both jars and see. There's some bubbles, and here on the top you can see a lot of fermentation going on. And you saw these bubbles coming up. This is how it looks from the top. So it's a really nice fermentation, and I'm just gonna continue for another few days, even though I know from experience that this is already good, tastes good, but because red cabbage is a little bit harder, I'm just gonna continue ferment it for another maybe 3-4 days before I actually do the taste test. And this is the 10th day of the fermentation. As you can see, the juices in this jar have went down significantly, and that's why I'm glad that nothing spilled over, because if it spills over, then you end up with dry cabbage and you have to add some more liquids. But it's dry here on the top, but that's okay, because this is just something that holds the cabbage down to be underwater. And this one, see, this one spilled over, some of it spilled over. It's a smaller jar, it was filled to the top, so it's expected. So the brine level is right now here, which is still good, but I'm gonna open this jar and I'm gonna make a test taste. So I'm looking forward to this taste test. I'm gonna see how the cabbage tastes. To the top, we're just gonna and these are these leaves that were keeping the cabbage below the surface of the brine. So this is our cabbage, sauerkraut, and red fermented cabbage with carrots and onions. So this is how it looks. It looks pretty fermented, and I'm gonna taste this. Well, it's nicely fermented, it's very soft. So this is the 10th day. I think I could have stopped it a little bit sooner, but this is very well fermented cabbage right now, and it's ready to be served. So bon appetit!